Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently than we have in the past. We don't have a specific project or anything that we're working on today. We're just taking some time to go over what we've done, what we're going to do, and what the expectations are. We've got Chrissy out there in the garden picking some weeds. Let me get set up and we'll get this thing started. All right, so we're looking at somewhere early June. I think it's the 3rd of June. And what I talked to Chrissy about was trying to do a 6-month State of the Union or State of the Farm address. This will just keep kind of bookmarks as to our progress and give everyone kind of an insight of maybe some of the things we don't film. And I don't know, just something for us to look back at. And so we're walking right here in an area that I had mowed earlier this week, which is kind of where our little deer feeder was. And if you look behind me, looks pretty mowed down for the most part. A lot easier to walk back here. Those thorny weeds and stuff like that aren't reaching out and grabbing you. But if you look over here behind us, it's still pretty thick for the most part. So what I think we're going to do is, and kind of what our plan was after we got our Coyote DK4510, was to set aside 1 acre per like 1 acre paddocks or 1 acre areas to work on. So what I did was do a outline of the next acre, and that's why I got into the mowing earlier this week. That didn't work out so well because of all the palmetto stumps that are still laying out here that have got to get picked up. The shear bolt, I've lost about 5 of them so far, and we're going to go ahead and make an investment into a slip clutch for that mower. So that's that. We've got 1 acre down, which is the front portion where the garden is, and we're going to start working back here into this 1 acre pile, 1 acre area, and get that cleaned up. So maybe we'll get some videos on the tractor. Got a lot of work to do. So I'll spend a little time talking about exactly what that process is going to be. For the most part, we want to get everything exposed. We're standing right here on the property line, but you got a lot of dirt over here beside me that was all pushed up to get this property line as clean and as open as it is right now. So first things first, we want to get the ground exposed. We're going to take the tractor, break these mounds down, empty them out with any kind of large chunks of wood, which will go into the burn pile. And then any dirt, any weeds, any grass like that, we'll get that tilled and chopped up, either mixed in with the mower, mixed in with the tractor disc, or chopped up by the mower that we're going to run over everything to get it down to ground level. So once we've completed step 1, which is exposing what we got underneath the weeds and the dirt, we're going to level out everything the best that we can. If we need to order some dirt to bring that in to fill in some major low spots, we can do that. We can try to find the high spots that are within that 1 acre, and then kind of work all that stuff together by moving the dirt with our box blade or with the bucket. Step 3 is going to be go through and start looking at within this 1 acre what trees need to go and what trees can stay. We're not judging it specifically based on size. The tallest tree within this second 1 acre paddock that I have may be the one that we cut down, and the smallest tree that we have here is going to be one that we're going to want to protect the most, just depending on how its growth cycle has been, since it started. All this land right here was a natural pine forest. So when they harvested all the pines out, a lot of our older oaks that are in here were pretty much like a pine tree. They just grew right straight up. Branches were maybe 2 or 3 foot long at the most. they were in such competition with the pines that they were growing around that they really don't offer anything except future firewood in my case. If we were to try to establish an area for livestock to be able to get up underneath and have shade, some of these oaks out here aren't going to do anything for them. 3 oak trees super close together may provide 3 not so good oak trees. If we can take 1 or 2 out of that equation and just leave what we think is going to be the healthiest one, in the future that'll pay us back in dividends with a nice big strong oak tree that'll last a lot longer than if we keep the 3 together. So phase out the ones that we don't need anymore, or cull them if you want to consider that, harvest them. That'll go towards firewood, whatever we can salvage to use and maybe make something out of later on. We'll do that. But the ones that are left over, we'll go and take a pole saw and we'll clean up everything underneath them just to kind of give them some room to grow out and the ability for us to get a mower or to get the tractor out from around it. And then at that point, step 5, or I think we're on step 4. Step 4, we're going to seed it, whether we put down grass seed in the dirt or like a forage mix. That'll all depend on what time of year that we're going to be in. Fall forage, and then spring bahia if it works out that way. So, and I'm probably wrong, someone out there can correct me on that, but I think that's what we're going to do. We're not putting high dollar seed out here. We just want something that's going to cover the dirt. Like Justin Rhodes says, and I think Joe Salatan says, the ground doesn't want to be exposed. Mother Nature or Mother Earth wants to be covered up at all times. So if we don't cover it with something that we want, like a clover mix or some sort of annual ryegrass or something like that, then that's when the weeds are going to come up and take over, and it's just going to be a mess. So you can kind of see right here, I've already started doing our step 1 in this 2nd acre over here. We've started cleaning up that pile, and if you look behind me, you can kind of see the end result of step 1, and then here's the beginning of step 1. I'm going to run that tractor all the way down this line here where we pushed all that dirt up, and we're going to slowly take all that stuff out and get it cleaned up. Let's go over to the garden. All right, so some of the most newest improvements have been out here right next to the garden. We already know about the pond that I've got here behind me. We got to do a lot more work on that. We haven't been getting enough rain to even justify renting the excavator that we need to dig it out and making the investment in the pond liner. So what we talked about was if that's kind of down the road a little bit, what do we need to do to get the water to the garden without running 100-foot extension, not extension cord, but 100-foot hoses and whatnot off the side of the house, and getting the garden fed? Because one of the issues we're running into right now is every time we run the drip irrigation, you can hear the water running throughout the whole entire house through our piping and then coming out to the garden. So what we did right here behind us is, see if I can get it in camera, there it is. We ran a 1-inch water line right down through here and then right out back over in front of the house. And that 1-inch line is going to be a dedicated garden line. In the future, we can put splitters there. We can put multiple timers out there. We could even split it off and run this. Let's say over behind us, we want to put a animal shelter for a paddock right there for anything, whether it be goats, pigs, cows. We can now have a line. We can just run a short distance over to that area to water them, or just throw a hose on the ground and run it over to them. So this has been a great improvement. It was a little costly to do that, and definitely a pain in the butt. The PVC glue does not work out exactly how you want it to, and as I've mentioned before, I freaking hate plumbing. So kudos to all the plumbers out there that get it done right. I'm talking and rambling and not exactly focusing on where I'm at. So anyone that isn't aware, we've got roughly a 50 by 50 garden patch over here. 3 rows of peaches and cream sweet corn, We've also got 2 rows of okra, and then 4 rows of watermelon. 3 of those rows are going to be crimson sweet. 1 row of the rattlesnake. I just felt like doing something different just to compare the 2 together. Both are going to be seed varieties. Most everything you see here was started on a tabletop and a seed tray, except for the corn. So the wife and I, the kids, everyone was involved in making sure that they got watered. When we did plant the corn, the kids and I came out here, marked everything off, and hand seeded those. They are probably the #1 tormented by pests. And when I say pests, I mean tree rats and deer right now so far have been the #1 predators to our sweet corn. The watermelon has been super resistant to just about anything. We've had ants all over them, you know, all kinds of crickets and everything. I don't notice a whole lot of damage. We're not getting any kind of mildewy, powdery leaf substance, which they always talk about when it comes to watermelons. They have pretty much been the #1 not really doing anything with it. Don't need a whole lot of input other than weeding that we've had. And then, so corn was the worst predation, the worst plant with a predation. Watermelon was the least amount. Okra somewhere in the middle. When okra was real small, little tiny sprouts, they were getting hammered by all kinds of bugs. As they got a little bit bigger, the deer were hitting them in the garden, just plucking them right off the top. And I think we've lost 3 here. I've lost 2 right up here. And even to this day, the deer are coming in and just pretty much going for that most tender leaf that is sprouting kind of out of the top, or the flowers themselves, which are super pretty if you haven't seen them before. And they're just kind of going right in off the top and munching them. Those 2 plants looked exactly like that plant about 2 or 3 days ago. There's what an okra flower looks like if you haven't seen one before. The thought is, what do we do? Do we spray something to kind of keep the deer out? Do we build a really high fence around it so the deer don't get into it, the rabbits and whatever else don't get in to do any damage to it? Do we spray a whole bunch of stuff on it to keep all the insects off of it? The answer could be yes to a number of those questions, but for us, minimum input as possible. We want the plants to grow, we want the plants to produce, but the goal here is this is kind of a test to see, can we grow something, can we make money on it? And the more input we put into it is going to take away from that profit margin. So the answer is no, we're not doing anything. So that's pretty much the garden tour. If you got any questions, you can ask me. I'm not a master gardener, kind of a master artist in BS. So, but if I can't answer anything you have specifically about what we're doing, I can tell you. And last but not least, we've got sod finally. It has been a horrendous dirt bowl. We have not got any rain pretty much all of May. If you can see the sky around me right now, it is super cloudy, super ugly looking. But just like yesterday, it was like this all day. Temperature came down, no freaking rain. So we're out here with the sprinkler mafia trying to get this thing as green as possible. 18 pallets went down last weekend, and we're gonna get 12 more probably sometime mid-month in June, and hopefully this whole thing will be nice and covered. So next time we get some family up, we'll be able to run around and enjoy it without coming back with 10 pounds of dirt in our shoes. And we can walk around out here without kicking up the allergies and getting coated. So again, this was a totally different video than what we've done in the past. I'd rather be doing something than standing here and just talking to this camera, but I really do think this is a good idea to kind of keep tabs on what we're doing, and like I said, kind of a state of the farm address. If anyone has any recommendations for us, or anyone thinks that there's a way that we can maybe be doing it better, let us know in the comments below. I definitely read them and I respond to them. A lot of them are people that we already know, which is cool, but I'm really interested to talk to the people out there that are watching this for the first time, or maybe have gone through some of the things that we've gone through in the past and want to instill some wisdom in us. I'm very open and receptive to all that. I might be a pain in the ass, but I'll listen to you. So for the most part, thank you guys again for watching. Really do appreciate it. I've talked long enough. I'm ready to go do something else now. So hit one of these buttons over here to subscribe to the channel, which helps us out a lot. I think we're at 291 on the day of this filming. So let's get that number up there as quick as possible. And somewhere by now, there'll be a video that had popped up that is probably really relevant to something you want to see. So hit that video, watch another one, put it on repeat, whatever it is you got to do to help us out, and see you on the next one.